Hey, TYT Sports Rotowire. Week 3 is in the books. Ben Mankiewicz, Chris List, I'm Heather Ankeny. Let's work a little waiver wire for week 4, shall we?
Let's.
Sure.
Running back. No, quarterback. Let's start with quarterback.
Well,
right?
my guy's Blake Bortles, okay? Got
Really?
great in the preseason. He runs well. He looks like Andrew Luck when he takes off, actually. He's got good, better speed than you would think. And they got good receivers there. Allen Robinson is good. Marquise Lee's hurt right now, but Cecil Shorts is back. You got Allen Hurns, who seems to make big plays now and again. And they're going to be behind. Their defense is bad. I know their offensive line is bad, but I would put a little bit in on Bortles.
I bet, except for the danger that you have of him getting hit a lot, I would think that Gus Bradley would open that up for him a little bit. And you saw basically 200 yards in the second half. I think there's going to be a lot of that. I think he's going to have some 300-yard games, some 2-touchdown games. And those receivers, you know, when we get to receivers, I'm sure we'll be talking about Allen Robinson, because those receivers all of a sudden just became significantly more valuable.
And now we're going to have 6 teams on bye. So there are people that are, if you didn't draft 2 quarterbacks, there are people that are going to be hunting around for a quarterback. There just has to be. What about Alex Smith in Kansas City?
I'm fine with Alex Smith.
Really?
Yeah, sure. You know what? I'll tell you something. In a big high-stakes league, I had him started, and the guy who I am co-running, my producer on XM, insisted we go Geno Smith. I let him have his way. He took a win and turned it into a loss. So Alex Smith threw 3 touchdowns this week.
Right.
I like Alex Smith. He runs for some yards. Andy Reid throws a lot. I know it's dink and dunk. I know they don't go downfield. But the defense isn't that good this year. I think they're going to have to throw more. I actually think Alex Smith is a perfectly fine pickup, especially against New England.
Just a plug and play?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be like wanting to make him my
on.
first QB in a 12-team league, but I'm happy to use him if I have to.
And I'm sure a lot of people already have Kirk Cousins, but if they don't, obviously there's not clear value in Kirk Cousins.
I don't love Kirk Cousins.
Why?
I don't.
Are you serious?
I'm not saying he can't do well, and he obviously did last week against the Eagles in a shootout, which is a very good situation to be in. I just wonder. He was great for a game and a half as a rookie, and then he was pretty horrible last year.
He was, yeah.
And then this year he's been good for the game and a half he's played.
He played the whole Jacksonville game.
2 games. And Jacksonville is really a terrible defense, and he was in a shootout. And maybe he ends up good. But remember, Chad Henne threw for 400 yards in his second season in a shootout against the Patriots. You got to give it a few games. I'm sort of wait and see on Cousins.
I'm just saying, as a bye-week filler, you could do worse.
I don't like against the Giants, though. I don't like the matchup.
I don't mind it. That said, who I would stay away from is Teddy Bridgewater. I don't think he's quite yet on the same level as Bortles.
By the way, you were right. You called it as like 30 minutes.
I said 30 minutes.
Yeah.
He got injured, though, too.
I know.
But what a great blessing, real quick, about Teddy Bridgewater for the Vikings organization for that injury, because not only do they get Bridgewater, who they hope obviously will be their quarterback in the future, first-round pick, end of the first round, but a first-round pick, and they're going home for the first time since the Adrian Peterson mess. And now there will be a significant moving of, look, Peterson's going to have a lot of stories and some coverage, but now they have this other story. Their first-round pick, their quarterback, making his first start at home. Big distraction, a useful distraction for the Vikings.
You're so smart.
And to go back to the last quarterback I want to mention, go back to that Cousins against the Giants. In a lot of leagues, including 2 of mine, Eli Manning is out there.
Really?
A lot of leagues a lot of leagues don't have Eli Manning drafted, and in that game, if you have a choice, by the way, of Kirk Cousins or Eli Manning in that Thursday night game, it's a no-brainer. Eli Manning.
Who would you take for the rest?
I like that.
Who would you take for the rest of the season, Kirk Cousins or Eli Manning? If you had to.
Because when you play enough rotists, you develop hatred for people, and I would not want to go through a season with Eli Manning. I'd rather take the unknown with Kirk Cousins. Thursday night, it's a no-brainer though. Eli Manning.
I love that you just called it rotists. All right, but
fantasy makes me uncomfortable sometimes.
We have your league, the TYT league, who's available at quarterback, right?
Yeah,
I think we do. Oh yeah, look.
Can we make that a little smaller?
Yeah. Can we make that? You can't see that?
No, I can see it. It's just small.
Rotists.
Yeah, we talked about it. The guy at the bottom. I mean, I would take almost Blake Bortles might be my top choice of those guys there. I think they'll be behind to San Diego, but I bet we'll get to it when we get to beating the book, which will be another video we post up here. But I bet Jacksonville hangs in that game a little bit.
Yeah, I would definitely take the 13, just buying low and selling San Diego high off some very impressive wins. Totally. I think it's an easy call. And I think Bortles is a whole different thing. They'd thrown in the towel with Henne. This was not a serious team when they said, oh, we're going to just keep Bortles on the bench the entire year. Now I think this team is moving on. They're actually going to be serious. It may not happen this week, but within the next few weeks, they're either going to have an upset or some very near upsets, maybe even this weekend.
Chad Henne is, and I'm not trying to pick on him, but I mean, he's a moderate backup. Like, it's not like a team signs Chad Henne and thinks, oh, good, if our quarterback goes down, we're fine. Like, Chad Henne shouldn't be starting in the NFL. And Blake Bortles looked really good in camp. Came out as the top quarterback in the draft, and I think you should have him.
Yeah, but then they want to. I mean, we've got to this point where we're starting. We're actually starting rookie quarterbacks. It used to be that they would learn under the tutelage of a veteran, and I think that ideally that's what they wanted to do with Bortles. I don't think they wanted him to start right out the gate.
I think it's more had to do with their offensive line and a fear of him getting hit and affecting his psyche, and then literally just the potential for legitimate injury.
They didn't want him going down the David Carr career path, right, where he took 70 sacks a year and now he's out of football. You know, and I mean, it's 10 years ago, but he was the #1 overall quarterback pick. He never really had much of a career. And two, you know, quarterbacks come out right away. Cam Newton was good right away. You know, Matt Ryan was good right away. Flacco was good right away. RG3 was great right away. Russell Wilson was great right away. Andrew Luck was good. This day and age.
3 of those guys that you said, though, are still playing.
What do you mean?
Well, of those quarterbacks that you just ticked off, RG3 isn't playing.
Well, RG3 is the only one.
Who else?
No, I said Flacco, Ryan,
even
Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton came out and played right away.
You know, free agency had a lot to do with that. That you sort of you're not looking at 12 years with one organization, and you're going to have to pay these guys early. And if you give up an entire year, you're giving up an entire year of what could be an elite player.
Yeah, and also just they're much more pro-ready than they used to be. In college, they come in, they do pro offenses, they do these 7-on-7 things where you got to react quickly, like the speed of the NFL, sort of. So they're much more prepared than they used to be. 10 years ago, that was absolutely right.
Didn't Stafford start real quickly too? Yeah.
Well, he got hurt right away, but
he got hurt right away. And he's back.
All right. Well, moving on to wide receivers. What do you guys think about? And Josh Brown in Arizona probably already picked up.
Maybe. No, not necessarily.
Do you think he's available in a lot of leagues?
I think you got to talk about him.
I would like to say that I had never heard of him, and I'm pretty sure I'm not alone.
They compared him to Marvin Harrison in terms of just his ability to stop and start and change directions. Okay, and then you have Michael Floyd, who's a monster, getting targeted way down the field. Then you got Fitzgerald, who looks like a decoy almost. He's this big, solid possession receiver. I don't know how much there is to go around. I mean, whoever's the quarterback there has to do pretty well to have those 3 guys. But I do like Brown. As sort of a bye-week fill-in. They're on bye this week, so
they are.
Except not this week.
So who's on bye this week? Seattle, Denver, Arizona, Cincinnati. Who else? Do we know?
St. Louis and Cleveland.
6 teams. So the NFL's just got 26 teams. So John Brown would be pretty far down my list right now, obviously, because he's not playing.
Right.
But conversely, who I think you want to take and who interests me enormously if he's not owned is Jordan Matthews.
Yes, Jordan Matthews, because they haven't really, Macklin's kind of the #1, but we're not 100% sure. Riley Cooper's dropped a pass in the end zone, sort of isn't really that involved. Zach Ertz comes and goes. Jordan Matthews could wind up being the #1 receiver. He could be the Keenan Allen this year of that team, and that team is scoring a ton of points. They lead the NFL in points scored. They have more snaps on offense than any other team in the league, and Matthews is big and fast. He can do the red zone thing. He can catch short passes, take him for a good gain. So I agree.
You could get a bunch of 5 catches, 70 yards. You could get a bunch of 5 catches, 70-yard days from him as the 3rd option.
Right.
Let alone if he moves up and becomes up. Yeah.
Not playing this week, but probably should be picked up. Brian Quick in St. Louis, right?
I'd be surprised if he were still available, but yes, he should be picked up if he is available.
Okay. Yeah. Is he available in your TYT league there, Jason? Did you put up the wide receiver? Who's available for your league?
That just doesn't get smaller.
Not a lot.
Terrence Williams is actually interesting at home against the Saints. I would use him. Dwayne Bowe, I keep waiting for him to wake up. It's been 2 years now, though. I wonder if Ruben Randle, I really like, and I like him this week. I know Thursday night's weird. Sometimes teams are out of sync on the short week. But Ruben Randle had 10 targets. He had a very quiet game. He had like 5 catches for 20 yards or something, but he had 10 targets, and his breakout game is coming. The Giants' offense was in rhythm. Eli played well. Ruben Randle is going to be their red zone target. His breakout game is coming maybe this week and maybe 2 weeks from now. But
but I've actually had Ruben Randle on my bench, and his breakout game may be coming. But what if that's it? I mean, you can't keep starting him and hoping that he's going to break out.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to start him over Michael Floyd, but but if you have a bye week, I'm going to take him. Or if I'm just sort of weak at receiver and I need a guy who could emerge, I'm taking him.
I went to Ruben Randle's bar mitzvah, by the way, but we haven't really kept in touch. Real quick, can I have that list one more time again?
Sure.
I have this guy in a couple leagues. I think I cut him in one, but for the same reason when we talked about quarterbacks and Blake Bortles, Cecil Shorts is the most veteran receiver there, and if it turns out to be a young rookie quarterback who looks to the veteran receiver who's produced some in the NFL, I wouldn't hesitate to take Cecil Shorts either. And every game is kind of appealing right now for Jacksonville because I think they're going to be behind and I think they're going to be throwing.
All right, how about, let's see.
Let me throw one more out there.
Who?
Devontae
Okay.
Adams did nothing this last week because the Packers offense couldn't get on track against the Lions, but he was good 2 weeks ago. Anyone can get hurt. You know, Cobb, Nelson both have injury histories. He's the number 3 now. Boykin is kind of invisible.
Yeah, I agree.
On that offense, you want to get a big, fast target like Devontae Adams. Get him now before he gets expensive.
Why did Boykin just disappear?
I don't know.
It's so weird to me.
Some guys just don't develop. It seems like they figure it out, and then once defenses start being aware of them and knowing how to stop them, they can't adjust and get better. It might just be that he's not quite good enough.
He's very slow also.
Well, in the Packers, I mean, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
The whole Packers offense right now. Okay, so then moving on to running backs. Taliaferro, which we talked about like 2 weeks ago, I think. Is he owned in your league?
He's why Chris is good at this because, obviously, going after Taliaferro now is obvious, and you're going to have to compete for whatever your spot on the waiver wire is. The guy who has the first spot may well end up with him. He seems to me to be but if you listened last week or two, whenever it was, you get these guys the week early, and then you cross your fingers that what you hope for happens, and in this case, it happened with Taliaferro.
Well, that's a nice thing to say, but the truth is I had him and dropped him when he wasn't the guy in week 2 because all these lottery tickets are kind of the same, right?
Yes.
They're all like they could if something happens and blah, blah. And
Who'd you pick up instead?
I don't even remember.
Okay.
Somebody I probably dropped the week after. But the point is, it's like the shuffling of lottery tickets, but he got his chance because Pierce gets hurt and he gets a chance. And wow, he's good. He's big, he's fast. He's not going to catch a ton of passes. But yeah, I think you blow a lot of fab budget or your first waiver wire pick on him. This guy could be the lead back on the Ravens who look like a decent team the rest of the way.
And again, you trust your eyes to some extent. Like you look at Bernard Pierce and you see what he did last year, and you think that, there's some guys. If LaShawn McCoy gets hurt, when LaShawn McCoy comes back, he's getting his job back. If Bernard Pierce gets a little banged up, they're not automatically giving Bernard Pierce his job back if somebody else there is producing. So, trust what you're seeing. The Ravens were obviously, for obvious reasons, in the market for a running back.
The Ravens were willing to destroy the entire NFL and possibly get, fine millions of dollars just to bring Ray Rice's carcass back. Obviously, they don't think highly of Bernard Pierce.
That's right. That's exactly right. But real quick, a guy I picked up last week in the hope that I was getting him early, McKinnon in Minnesota.
Well, I like him too.
Yeah, and that's a guy who I have a choice, so I like that. But again, it's a draft choice. It's not somebody who came out of nowhere. They spent a third-round pick on him. He's little, but he's not tiny. He's big, he's thick, he can knock people over, and to me, that's a guy, because you look at Asiata, and you don't really think, like Bernard Pierce, that doesn't strike me as a guy who's going to be an elite starting running back in the NFL.
Never have a player with a continent in his name. That's my rule.
Okay, wait, but Alfred Blue in Houston, really quick, is that just too obvious of a pickup, or are you even...
No, I think that's a good pickup.
Yeah.
I mean, he's available probably because no one really knew Foster was going to be scratched.
Yeah,
so
he went like before kickoff in a lot of leagues, but some leagues,
people I know some people just, picked him right up.
Yeah, well, you should be doing that, but he looked competent. I mean, he got stuffed a lot. The Giants D played well. He broke off one big run to sort of salvage his stats. But if Foster stays out, he's still the guy. And I think the Texans are not the doormat they looked like on the road in New York.
Doormat, and they're never going to be a team that throws the ball 40 times a game with Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Let me throw one sneaky guy. Bobby Rainey fumbled twice, and Doug Martin may be back. So people are like, okay, get rid of Rainey. From what I've seen of Rainey and Martin the last 2 years, Rainey looks better to me when he runs with the ball, and he's a good receiver. Yep. I would not, if someone dropped him because they think, okay, this experiment's over, that's another guy to pick up. Yeah,
I mean, if the Buccaneers' reaction to losing 56-14 after being down 56-7 is we're going to stop playing our best offensive player just because he fumbled twice, they're making a hideous mistake. Right. That's not why they lost.
Yes. And then real quick, tight end, I'm just wondering about Andrew Corliss over there in Green Bay. Is that legitimate?
I think it's kind of a ham and egger. Like they'll use him now and then. He may go. I think his upside is like 505 on the year. I don't see him catching 8 or 9. I guess anything could happen on that great offense once it becomes what it was, which it hasn't yet.
Please.
But I think it will. I do think it will. Yeah, sure. I mean, for a bye week fill-in, I think he's fine. And I think if you're really stuck, he's fine. But I don't see him being, a huge part of that attack. I think Devontae Adams is the better bet.
Cool.
I did, in one of my leagues, I signed Larry Donald. I cut Kobe Fleener, but and then Kobe Fleener scored a touchdown, and you just don't know in Indianapolis who's ended up being the guy. You never know.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, guys.